Hey folks, and welcome to my Best Games of 2020 video. Catchy title, huh? Well, 2020, right? Yeesh, what can I even say? Living on the Gold Coast of Australia, the pandemic wasn't as bad as it has been elsewhere, but it was still a scary couple of months, and that existential dread looms ever presently in the background. Because of this, many games I was excited to play in 2020, Hollow Knight Silksong, Psychonauts 2, were pushed back to a future date. But that doesn't mean there was a lack of games to play. Being cooped up in my apartment theoretically gave me more time to make videos, but I think many of you will understand how the drive to create just wasn't as strong as it usually is. So not only did I release less videos in 2020 than I ever have before, I even tried something new. I switched to a Let's Play format for a couple months, and then decided to switch back. On the positive side, I got a new gaming laptop, so I should be set for at least the next 5 to 6 years of new releases, even though I've now made a pledge to wait at least a year before playing any new release. I want to disconnect myself from the hype cycle as much as possible. We'll see if I stick to it. I did buy World of Warcraft Shadowlands a couple weeks after it came out, and then Blizzard hiked the subscription prices in Australia. Don't I feel foolish? For new viewers, I'll explain how this video is going to work. This is not a video of the best games released in 2020. This is a video of the best games I played in 2020. I was able to delve further into my backlog this year, so there are games from the 2010s, the 2000s, and even the 90s. There are also a couple from this year thanks to my subscription to Game Pass. It seems I change the way I do this video every year, and 2020 is no exception. Every video I released in 2020 is eligible for this list. Games I made impressions videos on, games I made Let's Plays on, and games I made critique videos on. I compiled a short list of 16 games, and then to make hard choices, I whittled that list down to 5. These 5 games are not ranked. All of them are interchangeable for my favorite game of the year, and this list is in alphabetical order. Enjoy. Death Stranding. How is this not going to make my list? I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan, and when Kojima's new game dropped on console in 2019 and I heard people talking about it, I said to myself, I have to play this. So when it came out on PC in 2020, that's exactly what I did. What is Death Stranding? It's a delivery man simulator set in a post-apocalyptic America, full of rain that speeds up time and invisible monsters that will trigger catastrophic explosions if they come into contact with the living. Everyone is held up in their bunkers, everyone is isolated, and it's up to Sam Porter Bridges to connect every bunker to a new communications network in order to recreate a sense of community and country. The game reinforces this idea by having the work of other players appear in your game to ease your burden. Death Stranding is bizarre, frustrating, and uncompromising, and I look forward to returning to its world, if just to see how much actually gets explained to my satisfaction. Disco Elysium. It's so rare to play an RPG that has nothing to do with combat, refreshing too, especially when the writing is as good as it is in Disco Elysium. Your character wakes up after a drunken bender and can't remember who they are. It turns out they're a police officer, and there's a murder to solve. Piecing yourself back together is as important as finding the culprit. What makes Disco Elysium special is the skills that can be upgraded through the game. These influence how the player solves problems in the game world. That's nothing new. Fallout did the same thing, but the trick here is that these skills act as intuition. When a conversation is happening, these skills will chime in, talking to the main character inside his own head. Whether you want to trust any of these voices is up to you, and which ones you feed and upgrade will change how you approach the game world and the people within it. Sure, this suggests replayability, but I'm more excited to just let my choices play out however the dice rolls the first time through. Kentucky Route Zero. I'm cheating a bit with Kentucky Route Zero. Longtime fans may be saying, but Dave, you never released a video on Kentucky Route Zero in 2020, and you would be right. I played through the whole game after Act 5 was released and even wrote a critique for it. However, I felt the critique wasn't good enough the more time I spent away from it. I felt like I wasn't actually saying anything interesting about this masterpiece of a game, so I published the script on my old games blog and left it at that. Kentucky Route Zero is experimental theater in the guise of a video game. It has its roots in the point-and-click adventure game genre, but there's only one puzzle to solve, and it's right at the beginning. Everything else is dialogue, and the choices resulting from dialogue. How the player colors in who they see these characters as. The player does have an effect on the world, but in smaller, subtler ways. The big events are set in stone, and we can only influence the character of who these events are happening to. Kentucky Route Zero is about America dying, about good people just trying to make do, and how to find solace in community when greater forces have control over your life. It's a game I'm happy I played, and I look forward to playing again in the coming years. Sayonara Wild Hearts. Sayonara Wild Hearts is a pop album in game form. My impressions video had me playing the game for 30 minutes, and then I completed it during my second session. Even though it's short, maybe because it's short, it left its mark on me. The resolution during the final song alone put such a smile on my face. It was so sweet. That's what this game is, sweet, but sweet through assaulting the senses. Every song is a new experience through sight, sound, and reflex. I never knew what was coming next. The stages are short, so even with the frustration of having to repeat segments, nothing overstayed its welcome. I'll have some of these tracks kicking around in my head for months. Transistor. I should be surprised Transistor made this list. I made a video about how I didn't understand what was going on in the game, and that only the strength of the gameplay itself kept me going until the closing credits. That's why it's here. Any game where the why of the story is confusing me, but the gameplay is so good that I'm willing to forget about it in the moment, is doing something right. The more time that's passed since I made that video, the more favorably I look on the game as a whole. I want to play it again. I love the look of the world, the voice acting, the music, and the variation of character builds. Transistor rewards player experimentation, and that was the case right up until its final act. I wonder if I'll be experimenting just as much my second time through. Maybe I should be playing these games through twice to start with, but oi, I already feel I take too long between critique videos. Anyways, Transistor is great. And there we go. Those are the 5 best games I played in 2020. If you're interested in my initial thoughts on them, links to those videos and the one script are in the description. Now I'd like to hear from you. What are some of the best games you played during this hell year? Why did they resonate so deeply with you? I'd love to hear about them down in the comments. And with that being said, Happy New Year everyone. I hope you have a much better 2021. Let's make this year the best it can be. I look forward to so many new experiences inside and outside of gaming, and I wish you all the best. Maybe 2021 is finally the year I get through my backlog, right? A man can dream.